So for Easter, Jesus gave me a gift. He gave me the gift of chemistry. This huge, ginormous, extremely heavy book of fun. So more specifically, he gave me chapter 12, which focuses on the gas laws and combustion engines. And we learn all about what is our environment and how we're affected by it. I thought this chapter was so interesting, especially the combustion engines, that I made an entire video about it. So stay tuned. Dear combustion engines, you have done so many negative things to our earth, yet we let you. Welcome to your tape. Hi everyone! My name is Jasmine Vu, and I am here to teach you all about the combustion engines. There are two main combustion engines. You got your internal combustion engine, and you got your external combustion engine. Since the reaction is a combustion reaction, we know the formula. It goes a little something like this. So, what is an internal combustion engine, aka an IC engine, you may ask? Well, an IC engine is an engine in which combustion or the burning of fuel happens on the inside. IC engines are very common. They're everywhere. Examples of these are cars, electric bikes, motorcycles, and even rocket engines. However, did you know there are two types of internal combustion engines? The first is a spark ignition or an SI engine. This engine uses petroleum or gasoline to function. This engine is so much more common than the next one. This one is found in cars, motorcycles, electric bikes, and even jet skis. Want to see? Do ya? Well then follow me. Moving on to the second type, which is a compression ignition, aka a CI engine. This engine uses diesel as its main source of fuel. This engine is primarily found in trucks. In spark ignitions like these, we use things like gasoline and petrol. However, in trucks, which are compression engines, we use diesel. So, how exactly do IC engines work? Well, spark ignition and compression ignition engines differ in how they supply and ignite the fuel. In an SI engine, the fuel is mixed with air and then injected into the cylinder during the intake process. After the piston compresses the fuel-air mixture, the spark ignites it, causing combustion. The expansion of the combustion gases pushes the piston during the power stroke. In a CI engine, only air is inducted into the engine, which is then compressed. These engines then spray the fuel into the hot compressed air at a suitable measured rate, causing it to ignite. So now, what's the opposite of internal? External! So what is an external combustion engine, aka an EC engine? An EC engine uses a working fluid, either a liquid, a gas, or both, which is heated by a fuel on the outside of the engine. You're probably wondering, so where can we find these engines? Nowadays, these aren't that common. However, in the past, these were the only and most prominent kind of engine. These engines are found in trains. No, not the subway or the GO train. These are found in those real old-fashioned trains. How exactly does an external combustion engine work? So an EC engine burns fuel to heat water and produce steam. The steam is under a lot of pressure and it's used to push a piston back and forth inside a cylinder. As the piston moves back and forth, it moves a piston rod, which does work. So at this point, you're probably wondering, so what the heck's the difference between internal and external combustion engines? They sound the same to me. Well, the main difference is right in the name. In an EC engine, the fuel isn't burned inside the engine. However, in an IC engine, the combustion chamber lies right in the middle of the engine. External engines have a working fluid that is heated by the fuel. But IC engines rely on the explosive power of the fuel within the engine to function. In IC engines, the explosion forcefully pushes the pistons forward. Pistons are a part of the engine which derive motion, or expel hot pressure gas out of the engine at great speeds. Both moving pistons and ejected high-speed gas have the ability to do work. In EC engines, combustion heats a fluid which does all of the work. Today I'll be focusing primarily on IC engines. This is because it's a lot more common today, and we should know what's happening to our environment every time you start your car. We know IC engines are way more preferred than EC engines, but why? IC engines are more efficient and definitely less costly, even though we see that the gas is super expensive. IC engines are also way more compact and lighter. They can be started immediately, and they're so much safer to use. Although we have come a long way from the past and they are not as harmful as EC engines, they are still very negative to our environment. Lots of harmful gases are released into the environment, which causes pollution, which, as we know, causes global warming, which in fact is not a myth. So not only is the smoke emitted from these combustion engines dangerous, they affect humans indirectly as well. Nowadays, people never walk places, or if worse comes to worse, take the bus to conserve the amount of pollution that's being emitted into our atmosphere. Because taking the car is just so much easier, right? But have you ever thought of the future? Our little siblings, future children, even pets are being affected. So today we're going to be experimenting what it is like when we turn on our cars and gas is emitted. So I have a pot of water, and this will act as the gas that's being emitted. So once it boils, that's going to be the gas is being trapped under our atmosphere. So as it's gradually being heated, as we can see, there is vapor, which is representing the gases being emitted from your cars, from your combustion engines. So now we're going to put the atmosphere over it, and we're going to see how the gas is being trapped in our atmosphere, and this basically represents the greenhouse effect. So as the gas builds up, we're not able to see it here. However, as the gas builds up, it slowly breaks the ozone layer, which is really damaging and harmful to our atmosphere, obviously, and in the environment. So the sun, we're getting more radiation from the sun, and it is affecting us humans and the way we live. People are even gaining weight. Walking reduces so many calories. So instead of getting a gym membership, you could just walk. Walk to school, walk to the grocery store.
Walk to your boyfriend.
Why else do you think people who live in Okinawa, Japan, live for so long? They live to 100, and here in Canada, we live to what, 80? They have no cars. They live such a healthy lifestyle. Like, when they're 90, they're still able to climb trees. It's insane. So can you do that? I want you to all ask yourself, can you climb a tree when you're 90 years old? Or you can just get back to me. You're probably wondering what you can do about this. Well, since summer is right around the corner, walk places that are nearby to you. And if worse comes to worse, start carpooling or taking the bus instead of having your parents drive you around just for your convenience. Take your bike, take a hike, but don't smoke, because smoke still goes into the pollution that affects our atmosphere and our ozone layer. There are lots of things you can do, even a simple things such as walking to buy bus tickets or walking to your friend's house. It all helps. So you're looking up at the sky and you see all this smoke, all this smog, and all this pollution. And you're wondering to yourself, why is it like this? What is Canada doing to prevent this, to minimalize this, and to stop this? Well, recently Canada has been making a lot of advancements in their 10-year clean air agenda. This basically means that they're trying to reduce the amount of pollution that's being created, whether in big factories or in things like your home and your car. This is really difficult, as when they speak to these manufacturers and when they speak to these companies have to change their way of making things entirely so that everything is minimalized. We're also promoting taking the TCC, which is very helpful to the environment as it's essentially carpooling, and most of the times it's also less costly than driving. The pollution preventative plans, they outline ways to modify production processes, reformulate and redesign products, introduce substitute materials, improve management and training, install new and cleaner technologies, and even increase energy conservation, which is a win-win on both ends. In a lot of ways, this is extremely helpful for our environment. We should all be very glad that Canada is taking the time and taking the energy and taking the money to put in place these plans and move them forward. We know in places like America, Donald Trump has removed a lot of the eco-friendly plans, and this is really bad because he's going to increase the amount of production and increase the amount of factories, which is terrible for our earth and terrible for us humans, because when the ozone layer breaks, we're totally exposed to the sun, and this is such terrible news. And we should all take into consideration what we can do as humans. Anyways, I hope you learned a lot about combustion engines, the good and the bad. So thanks for listening. I'll see you later. Jasmine here, out.